He just dude crazy, like he just talk a lot of shit, and I just like to sit there.
NBA Youngboy just dropped something that shook the entire culture, and it wasn't just a track, it was a confession, a revelation, a storm hidden behind the beats. Because according to him, Birdman, the same man who once called him son, had been pulling strings behind the curtain, manipulating, controlling, even sabotaging him. But that's only the surface of what really went down. When the truth got too heavy to hide, the young one called out the OG. The whispers had been floating through the streets for years, but on June 9th, 2024, the world finally heard it loud and clear.
I think NBA Youngboy might be the biggest rapper. I said that 5 years ago.
What you mean big when you say big?
Ain't no gonna be bigger than NBA Youngboy. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
He the biggest YouTube artist right now in the world, and he behind the wall.
When DJ Academics uploaded Tears of War to YouTube, everyone knew this wasn't just another diss record. This was family business turned public, and you could hear it, that raw pain buried inside every word. The kind that doesn't come from hate, but heartbreak. What made the moment even colder? That track was the last thing Youngboy recorded before the feds raided his Utah home in April. He was already cornered, facing pressure from every direction, and then, the man he thought was a father figure turned out to be playing games with his trust and his money.
How's your relationship blossomed throughout the years?
He just dude crazy, like he just talk a lot of shit, and I just like to sit there. That's my fire. I like when he pop this shit.
When Youngboy dropped that line, the one that had the whole culture's jaw on the floor, it wasn't subliminal, no coded message. He went right for Birdman's throat, saying out loud what the streets had whispered for years. You could go back and see the innocence in those old clips. The way Youngboy spoke about Birdman, proud just to be around him, calling him Pops, admiring his energy, not realizing that every word was part of a game being played on him. The young bull thought he'd found a mentor, someone who would guide him through the chaos of fame, but what he really found was a master of the long con.
But I'm just saying, when that little boy get his mind right, and he come from under this bull and understand who he is, cause you know, Thugger and all them, they up in age. They 30, it's 20.
But you think that going through ain't doing that but helping him to his path to do that, though?
Of course.
Yeah.
They ain't making him nothing but a monster.
Because let's be honest, Birdman, or Brian Baby Williams, isn't just another player in the industry. He's the architect, the puppet master who built Cash Money into an empire. He turned Lil Wayne into a legend, Drake into a global superstar, Nicki Minaj into a queen. His eye for talent was unmatched, and when he saw Youngboy in 2018, he saw something familiar, a young, hungry prodigy. But with that hunger came chaos arrests, court cases, headlines. Atlantic Records didn't know what to do with him. Then came Birdman offering stability, wisdom, family. On paper, it looked like divine timing. Birdman wasn't just signing a young rapper. He was adopting him. Or at least that's how it felt. Youngboy, who grew up surrounded by pain, finally had someone calling him son. Someone telling him he was destined for greatness. And at first it worked. When they dropped We Poppin' and announced From the Bayou, it felt like history repeating the old guard passing the torch to the new generation. But behind the scenes, the game was changing. Because when From the Bayou finally came out in December 2021, real ones noticed something off. Birdman's voice was barely there. His presence faded. It felt less like a collaboration and more like Youngboy carrying the whole weight himself. And the whispers started again. Had Birdman really been there for him? Or had he just been using him? Those who knew the game recognized the signs. They'd seen this play before, especially the ones who remembered how Birdman and Lil Wayne went from father and son to courtroom enemies. Even Wayne himself had tried to warn Youngboy, dropping subtle messages in his music back in 2020, but when you're young, rich, and desperate for direction, it's hard to see the trap when you're already in it. Wayne's warning wasn't just advice, it was survival. Because Wayne had already lived through the promises, the contracts, and the betrayal. He had already learned that loyalty in this game often comes with fine print. Youngboy didn't want to believe it. He wanted to trust the man who promised to guide him through the darkness. But by 2023, that trust was cracking. The love that once felt fatherly was starting to feel like control. The mentorship that once felt spiritual now felt transactional. And when the walls closed in the legal pressure, the isolation, he did the only thing he's ever known how to do. He put it in the music. Tears of War wasn't just a diss track, it was therapy. A public cry from a man who'd been manipulated by someone he loved. Every verse bled emotion, disappointment, anger, grief. This wasn't a war of ego, it was a war of betrayal. When he rapped about Stunna never loving him and should have listened to Carter, it hit like a bullet. Because that was the moment everyone realized he was talking about Wayne's warning. He was admitting he ignored it. And in hip-hop, that kind of vulnerability is rare. It takes a different kind of strength to say I got played. But it wasn't just about money. It was deeper emotional manipulation, false promises, and love weaponized for control. Birdman had allegedly stepped into Youngboy's personal life, using that bond to influence decisions that went far beyond music. The parallels to Lil Wayne's story were impossible to ignore. Two protégés, same mentor, same pattern, both offered the world, both left questioning who was really in control. The production on Tears of War mirrored the pain, perfectly dark, haunting, stripped down. Every silence between verses felt heavy. Every pause was a wound opening wider. And then there was Birdman's silence. He didn't respond, no diss track, no statement, nothing. And that silence said more than any lyric could, because when an OG who's built an empire doesn't clap back, it usually means one of two things: the accusations hit too close, or the truth speaks for itself. The industry split down the middle. Some praised Youngboy for breaking the cycle, for exposing how powerful men can exploit young artists behind closed doors. Others said he went too far, that he should have kept family business private. But one thing was undeniable: the pain in his voice was real. And that's what made it hit different. Because this wasn't just a feud between two rappers. This was a story about trust, how it's given, how it's broken, and how it destroys the ones who need it most. But what nobody expected was what came next. By the summer of 2025, something shifted. The rumors started, first whispers that Birdman and Youngboy were finally open to talking, that maybe, just maybe, peace was on the table. And when they met face to face in New Orleans, the same city that raised them both, the energy was different. No cameras, no entourages, just two men, stripped of pride, trying to understand where it all went wrong. That meeting changed everything. Even DJ academics, who'd been covering the tension for years, noticed Birdman's influence during a heated backstage moment, the way he calmed everything down with just a few words. It showed the duality of the man, the businessman, and the peacemaker. The same qualities that once drew Youngboy to him were still there, beneath the layers of pain and pride. Their reconciliation didn't happen overnight. It took time. Trust had to be rebuilt. Apologies had to mean something. For Youngboy, it was about forgiveness, not just for Birdman, but for himself, for ignoring the signs. For Birdman, it meant facing the reality that his mentorship style might have caused more harm than good. Then came the moment that broke the internet, October 2025. Youngboy on stage, the crowd screaming, and suddenly Birdman walks out. Together they performed We Poppin' for the first time ever. The crowd went insane, and for a moment it felt like the pain had turned into something powerful. What people didn't see behind that performance was the work, the private conversations, the humility it took for both men to meet halfway. Birdman had always been known for his respect off the mic, for his genuine love when he believed in someone. That human side, not the mogul, not the boss, that's what made the reunion possible. Soon after, Birdman started traveling with Youngboy again, helping oversee the Make America Slime Again tour, but this time it wasn't about control, it was about legacy, strategy, rebuilding what had been broken. When Birdman started talking about Youngboy landing a $300 to $400 million tour deal, it wasn't just hype. It was vision, the same vision that built Cash Money from nothing, only now it was focused on redemption. Both men learned something from the storm. Youngboy learned to guard his heart but not let bitterness cage him. Birdman learned that mentorship means more than building stars, it's about protecting souls. And when Birdman invoked his late mother, Miss Gladys, while promising to make things right, it showed the weight of what this relationship truly meant to him. This wasn't just business, this was blood, pain, and forgiveness all mixed into one. Their story, from loyalty to betrayal to forgiveness, became bigger than the music. It became a reflection of what it means to grow in an industry built on pride. Because sometimes strength isn't in striking back. It's in sitting down, talking it out, and deciding that peace hits harder than pain ever could. What started as a war between a mentor and his prodigy ended as a lesson for everyone watching, a reminder that no matter how far gone things seem, redemption is always possible when real recognizes real. So drop your thoughts on comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more future updates.